Howdy, my name is Estrana, and welcome back to the Cosmic Chaos, or if you're new here, welcome. Today's video is going to be a draw with me, so grab your sketchbooks, your tablets, or whatever, and would y'all like to draw with me for a little while? So, I sprained my wrist last week. Whoops. I'll get into that later, so, it is kind of relevant, so yeah. I figured that since my wrist was feeling a lot better, I figured I'd treat myself to a style study of the Twisted Wonderland art style. A style that's a little too complicated for me. So, what you're seeing me do right now is redlining, which is basically tracing the proportions that this style has. That way I can break down how proportions are done in this specific art style, what mistakes were made, and etc. I'm not focusing on the rendering right away, because after all, guys, draw the thing before I render the thing. I did grab some official stills and traced over them, so all credit goes to Twisted Wonderland. Please do not lynch me for this. I needed to do this for style study purposes. So I actually did this a while ago, at the beginning of this year, which I posted, let me see here, I want to say closer to January, yeah, about 7 months ago. So, well, yeah, about 7 to 8 months ago. With that attempt, I did it on paper first and then went over it in Clip Studio Paint, but for this one, it's going to be primarily Clip Studio Paint. So I decided to draw my OC Lucian again because, well, why the fuck not? So, I know that with Lucian, despite his baggy clothes, he does have a more muscular build, because, for whatever reason, werewolves in my stories have more muscular builds, naturally. No, I don't know why either. Just don't ask questions you're not ready for the answers. Or, yeah, something like that. I know that with Lucian's hair, because I draw his hair so poofy normally, I knew I wanted his hair to be messier, because I don't think there's many instances of a character having poofy as hell hair in Twisted Wonderland. So I also went ahead and traced Leona Kingscollar's and Jack Howell's hair to get a kind of a messy look that I'm looking for Lucian. So yeah. Admittedly, when I started this project, I had been up since 4:30 in the morning because of poor sleep. Alas, sleep had hands. But other than that, this was just to treat myself because, like I mentioned earlier, I sprained my wrist last week. That was not fun, but fortunately, my wrist is doing a lot better now. I think I'm at almost. Well, okay, I'll be at the 2-week mark come Monday. So yeah, and the thing was admittedly, I was a bit of a dumbass. I was trying to do some wrist stretches and some exercises with a 5-pound dumbbell. Oh, the irony of doing wrist stretches only for it to cause more damage to my wrist. And there is definitely a lot of error on my end, especially with trying to force the one of the stretches with the dumbbell, which caused quite a bit of damage to the tendon. And thing was, I was trying to draw inlined pages for my comic, the King of Hearts one, not Twisted Wonderland one, which I don't really plan on making anytime soon. The brain rot is strong, but it's not that strong. So, yeah, while I was drawing, all of a sudden I felt my wrist pop, and while I didn't feel tension in the back of my hand anymore, it definitely hurt like hell. And the next day, it was just hurting so badly, even with trying to draw, with my whole arm. Admittedly, last Tuesday was a very bad day, but fortunately, had my aunt not said anything to my mom, I don't think I would have healed as much as I did. So I am very grateful to both my mom and aunt for being hey, what's up? And I ended up breaking down, and mom's I hurt my wrist, and today's just not a good day, and my wrist hurts, and just, Fortunately, Mom was kind enough to buy me some more braces specifically for sprains. and she helped me with every step of the way, so very grateful for that. First couple of days, definitely rough, but fortunately because, well, I unfortunately know that how to deal with tendinitis, which is something I'm more familiar with dealing with. Like, I knew to rest and not push things. And ironically, like, after 72 hours, my body was like, yeah, no, you need to do some light stretches and add heat now, when I wanted to split my wrist for one more day. Learn to listen to your bodies, please. Because, but that's besides the point. Well, actually, well, yeah, kind of besides the point. Anywho, my wrist is doing so much better now, and I'm very happy to be at a point where my wrist isn't hurting as much. Like, it'll hurt occasionally, but just not as much. So, yeah. On to the drawing itself. Admittedly, because it had been a while since I've drawn something, no thanks to the wrist sprain, I had trouble with the face, something I normally struggled with. Or never struggle with, excuse me. The hair I actually like a lot more in this piece than the last one. I don't know why the eyes gave me trouble. I think it's because with Lucian, like, personality-wise, he's an anxious mess. And so he kind of has bigger eyes. Like, kind of similar to when Idia is surprised in the game. And something more youthful like Lilia and the... Shit, what's his name? Purple, like, light purple hair guy. Apple. Yes, Apple. I think it was the proportions that kind of threw me off a little bit. So instead of focusing on the eyes, I just stuck with it and just drew the rest of Lucian, which I actually had a lot of fun sketching this version of him. Especially with using what I traced as a guide. I also have some references of some of the characters I referenced for this study, so yeah. From what I recall from last time, I think what I tried to do was have Lucian be a little expressive, like just have him like shyly pointing up at him, like almost as he's saying like, you want to actually hang out with me? What the hell? I don't know what it is with me and doing style studies, like constantly doing them, but for some reason I like to add more elements. Like, if I were to pull up Akari's recent, like, well, I guess I shouldn't say Akari's recent, but my more recent Nomura style study, I was a little more expressive in that, which it'll be on screen right about now. Like, I don't know, I just seem to keep adding elements of some of my characters whenever I do draw them in another artist I like style. I don't know, that's just me. I guess I just like to torture myself. But yeah, that's basically it on the pose. I'm currently cleaning it up, as you can see here, and like just blocking in like the darkest of colors, like specifically for his hair, and overall just cleaning it up. Don't know why I do this. It makes the sketch take longer, but apparently I do not learn my lesson. I guess it's just to help me have some sort of visual clarity. I don't know, my process is a little weird for this. So, yeah. I think with the intention, like, as for the intention for this specific style study, I wanted to see, like, where I can improve and see if I have improved in my observational skills. Like, meaning, like, okay, so there are some small details that I didn't really notice last time I did a style study like this. Like, I didn't notice that there was a line to indicate the Adam's apple and, like, the necklines. And I just thought they were implied because the line art is so thin. Like, I didn't think that they were there until I zoomed in on specifically Jax and Leona's references and it's like, oh, those are there. And that's something I wish I noticed last time I did this because I just winged it. And that just made the anatomy feel off to me. And another thing that I did was made the line art thin, just like, well, the official art. Honestly, this wasn't too much of a challenge for me. Like, I love working with thin lines. And sorry if you heard that, that is my dog. You might occasionally hear Salem now and then, so heads up on that. Anywho, where was I before I was so graciously interrupted? The hair, it surprisingly took me the longest, but then again, I was adding more lines to it. Because, like, if you notice, like, in Leona's, like, reference that I have pulled up, like, towards the bottom left corner, like, you'll see that there's some lines, like, very, very thin lines. Like, this is especially true in, like, his bangs. So I added some extra lines there, and, yeah, that's basically it on that. So with how I draw eye bags in my style, I just do, like, a scratchiness, like, in terms of line art. And I was debating on whether or not I wanted to carry that over from, like, January's style study. Ultimately, I kind of came up with a bit of a compromise that didn't rely so heavily on line art. And honestly, without colors and, like, rendering it, it just made Lucian look very, very weird. Considering that at this point he's around 18 to 19 years old. But ultimately, I really, really, really had to trust the process on this one. And that's basically what this style study was. It was just basically trusting the process, like, especially if I wanted to try to mimic the Twisted Wonderland art style, or at least, like, make it passable to make it look like kind of make it look like a sprite from the game. Yeah, so there really isn't too much to say about line art other than I kept it thin, like, roughly, like, okay, I normally work with a pen size of 10 with the G pen, which, honestly, it's a great default tool if you know how to use it properly. Like, the only thick parts were his eyes, like, specifically the eyelids, obviously, so... Yeah, overall, line art is relatively thin, and I got rid of the extra eye bag lines. I did make a copy of those two lines to indicate, like, baggy eyes, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep those or not, which ultimately I do after I add the colors for the eye bags. And now for my favorite part of the art process in general, coloring and adding the rendering and stuff. And oh boy, I've definitely improved big time on the coloring. Like, especially for the hair. Like, last time when I did the style study, I just did the cell shading that's, like, found throughout the whole style, and not notice, like the hair shading, it's not 100% cell shaded. In fact, there are some parts that look faded in, which to me, like, it means that it was painted on and not, like, what you see, like, say, in the hand or in the clothes. I mean, there's a painterly style, too, in which I kind of failed in that regard, I think, but I'll let you guys be the judge on that one. But, yeah. Admittedly, there were actually parts that I had to fix throughout this entire process. Like, the top of the head, like, it looked too small for my liking. And later on, I do try my best to fix, like, okay, Lucian's right sleeve to his jacket. But that's later on. I decided to not render the skin first, and instead I went to render his eyes. I used the symmetry tool to help me with a lot of this, like, especially the eyes, and thank God it exists, because Lord knows that was tough to do. For some of, like, the rim lighting, I used the color I would use for his pupil, and just, I wanted to try to give him a more wolf-like look, like, kind of similar to how, like, when a light is shown over a wolf's eyes, it has that cool effect. I tried that, I didn't like it, so, weh. I added, like, an orangish yellow, like, circle light thing, like, soft circle light thing, and honestly, I think the eyes had to have been my favorite. I am so glad I did those first, but I am also mad that I did them first because I got the fun part out of the way, or at least one of them, and I did the same thing with the fucking hair, which was something else. I added a dark pink gradient to the bottom, or like the tips of his hair, and of course I thought I could probably just cell shade it, and it was at this point that I eventually realized, like, oh hey, some of this shit looks painted on. The tips look faded out. So ultimately, I used the transparent watercolor brush to add in the shading, and oh boy, I was cooking. I did start with a purple at first, but then I went for like a dark magenta, but ultimately I lined it up a little bit and increased the saturation later on. I kept this layer unclipped for the time being because I wanted to see I wanted to see the full coverage, like the shading, like what it is I would need to fix later on. And so yeah, I added the shading where applicable. Admittedly, I should have like paid attention to like how light source works, especially for sprites, but oh well. Also, random fun fact, the sprites in Twisted Wonderland were animated in live 2D, so I mean, it'd be kind of cool to have like a Twisted Wonderland themed VTuber. Boy, I can dream. I mean, I could probably, like, I want to learn how to make VTuber designs and rig them. Like, unrelated, well, actually kind of related since I did mention live 2D, but I think it would be what I was trying to say was, I think it'd be fun to learn how to, like, make a VTuber, like, learn that process and try to apply it to my own style and, like, learn how to rig it, but I think it'd probably be easier if I learned how to make the design first and make it riggable, and, well, I'm not sure if I'm ready for that commitment, though, to be frank with y'all. And also, I do not have the money to commission someone to do that for me, so yeah. But anywho, VTubing shenanigans aside, as much as I want to do that, I'm not ready for that yet. As much as that could really bring in, like, maybe a new audience or something, I'm not ready for that yet, so oh well. I just want to do some chill videos and have some fun and hopefully entertain you guys. Oh, you may notice that every now and then, like, I'll move, like, the references to the side. It's usually, and then bring them back. It's usually because when I record, sometimes Clipsio Paint likes to crash on me and, like, reset everything. So you'll notice, like, some weird cuts, like, in some of my videos. So in order to keep things relatively consistent, I try to, like, move all of my references, like, for whatever project I'm currently working on, plus other projects in the background, to, well, the main work area. And if I have to leave my iPad for a while, then I can leave knowing that, okay, I'm not going to lose too much progress. I'm not going to have to adjust everything and try to get as accurate as I can for next time I screen record things. And, yeah. I mean, screen recordings, I don't mind doing those. Admittedly, I would rather save, like, well, not screen recording, but, like, time-lapse videos, like the in-app feature Clipsio Paint has. Like, I like using those, like, when I'm doing, like, shorts, which I kind of want to do, like, in my free time, but we shall see. And, yeah. So for the hair, I decided to go for, like, kind of a lightish pink diamond highlight instead of what I did last time. No ad glow was added, so yeah. For the skin, I start with black first, use a clipping layer, and then, like, try to get as close to, like, Lucian's, like, skin tone, but, like, shaded edition. And then I add some blue to it, because in the reference sheets, like, well, not reference sheets, but, like, the sprites, there is a little bit of blue within, like, a soft, like, almost airbrushed blue in the shading. And overall, just added some highlights. And honestly, I don't know what it is about the nose. that's so hard for me to like render in the Twisted Wonderland art style. It's like, oh, one side is like a darker color, the other is like an off-white, like closer to the skin tone. And I'm like, how the fuck? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I'm so used to like there being a slight shadow underneath the nose if the light is pointing like down at you. Oh, and I did ultimately decide to keep the lines so long as I had like a dark color underneath Lucian's eyes. So I went with like a deep purple. And honestly, I really, really, really loved how that looked, like especially for Lucian. I did go somewhat natural last time I did the style study, but hey, things change. And now, the jacket. God, the jacket. It took me a while, but the jacket is also another one of my favorite parts to do. Like, it was mostly it was mostly cell shading. Jesus Christ, I can't talk. But overall, I really liked the direction the style study was going in, and I think I really did improve on my observational skills. I mean, granted, I did use like redlining to help me with like proportions and stuff, but part of doing a style study, and maybe I might make a video on this topic in the future if y'all still want. But with style studies, it's very, very fun to try to figure out, like, okay, how does someone draw this specific thing? How does someone render this specific thing? Like, can I even try to copy this to the best of my ability? Because, like, okay, ultimately, some of your style is going to appear within a style study. Like for example, like with Lucian's sleeves, like, even though I had to fix his not his left sleeve, his right sleeve, I did make the jacket a little more proportionate to how I do it, like with, like, in terms of folds. Like, I have a very weird way of drawing folds in clothing and how I render them, because typically I use, like, more soft shading than anything. Like, there isn't a whole lot of harsher light to it. So, yeah. But anywho, same deal. I add the weird like line thing that you see in the sprites. I don't know why that's there. I'm just trying to pick the artist's brain and like just copy what I see and try to apply it to my own work. I know for this, like, God, and I really wish I did this, but I guess I was just done with the drawing at that point. But I really wanted to make like add like a background from the game and add like a fake text box of him saying like something that akin to his personality. Like, he is a very shy, a very, very anxious person, like determined to make sure that his lycanthropy is a secret. I think it would have been so cool if I did that, but oh well. That's an opportunity for another day. So, yeah. I don't really have too much else to say. I think if there are some things I would absolutely love to change, like, I wish that I had grabbed at least Malleus's sprite, so that way I could get the proper colors for his outfit, because admittedly, the colors for Lucian's vest weren't exactly the best, and I did the shading incorrectly on that too. Oh well. The lips, they turned out okay. I kind of wish that I didn't make them an afterthought, but oh well. It's a small detail. No one's gonna really notice too much. And I really wish that I had kept the buttons, or excuse me, the pins, like, because, like, those are kind of indicative that he loves astronomy. He, like, maybe there's some sort of astronomy club or something. I don't know. I kind of wish I kept those, but oh well. Maybe if I do another style study like this, like, or hell, maybe even make, like, a fake Lucian model as if he were in the game himself. We shall see. But, yeah, and you can see that I am fixing both sleeves, like, making a slight adjustment to his left one, making a large adjustment to his right one. That one, it was kind of tough doing that so late in the style study, but you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do. Something that I'm now realizing, looking back at this footage, is that I don't really use too many multiply layers, which is very interesting because if I remember correctly, like you can use multiply layers if you're making VTuber models or like something to animate in Live 2D. Though please, please, please do correct me if I'm wrong on that. I know nothing about Live 2D nor like the process of making stuff like VTuber models or animating in Live 2D. So please, please, please correct me on that. That's definitely one of the things I should research if I ever do plan on wanting to learn that process and hell, maybe make a video on that. That would be so time consuming now that I think about it. And I'm already working on a comic and also dealing with college full time. So I mean, that's probably going to be something that I'm going to have to chip away at in my free time and like dedicate a lot of time as well as incorporating a lot of breaks because I really don't want to re-injure my wrist after spraining it. Like, I think the sprain was the reset I needed for my wrist, and I do not want to take that for granted. So I think I would rather set some time aside for, dedicating to, do you get what I'm trying to say? Alrighty. So now that we're fixing the wrap up, here is the before style study that I did back in January. As cute as it is, there are some things I don't really like about it, like especially the hand, and the proportions are very similar to my own, but you know what? It's what it is. It's very cute for what it is. And now, to compare that to my newest one, which is coming up right now. I think the proportions are very close to what's in the Twisted Wonderland style, and overall I think this is a massive improvement. Hopefully I'll be able to improve more in doing style studies. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to me ramble. If you would like, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. If you feel so inclined, my commissions are open, so if you want some art from me, the link to my artistry.io request form will be in the description and pinned comment along with my socials. I'm on Instagram, Kara, Tumblr, and Blue Sky. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the void again real soon. Goodbye!